Despite issues with legality and maybe morality, Donald Trump can be called pretty efficient in his current term, number 47 president of the United States, saying what he's going to say, trying to do what he's going to do, whether it is, like I said, legal or not, whether anyone likes it or not. But one thing that he did, which was sort of the flip of the real flip-flops, was join in on the fight against Iran with Israel. I'm putting it that way specifically because Trump was working on a new deal based on the deal he tore apart last time he was in office. And while he said there was 2 weeks to get this thing working, dropped bombs on Iran 2 days into it, and then said he totally obliterated their nuclear program. So now they should want peace. So Trump is in NATO right now. Trump is dealing with questions and all things going on, and NATO is dealing with a bunch of other things in particular. But asked this morning on live as he sat with the NATO prime guy, the guy in charge, what's going on with Iran, what's going forward. And after some more tirades on how CNN is terrible and MSNBC is also terrible, he went on to once again reiterate that the total obliteration of the Iranian nuclear sites are all blown up. They're not coming back for a while. There's no reason to even be deal about it. He had Pete Hegseth and also had Marco Rubio jump in on that same sort of chorus. Oddly enough, the head of NATO was kind of really capitulating to Trump as well, saying how he's a great leader, all this great stuff, and now he's got everybody paying their 5%, except for maybe Spain. That's working out there. But there's some issues with the total obliteration line by Donald Trump and those who are supporting him, as Iran's nuclear enrichment sites don't seem to be totally obliterated. Classified intelligence agency reports conflict this return, and here's the kicker. They are classified reports, so they have been leaked out to the media. They state that the raids have only delayed the program by a couple months. Core infrastructure and centrifuges are largely functional. Most of the damage was above ground. Even in the places in the mountains, most of it was outside cosmetic damage. Ground level analysis provides a more accurate assessment when someone can get on the ground and do that analysis. But at the moment, since no one can seem to sing from the same hymnal, the messages that are contradictory are undermining strategic messages and risking public confusion on what's actually happening in the world and in this space right now. Now, it points out, the robot editor pointed out that CNN and the New York Times, the two that took the leaked footage early on and started talking to criticism about what Trump was saying, which of course had Trump reported him as fake. Fox basically are singing the president's praises. They're saying what they want them to say or he wants to hear. Essentially, this has been great. And Trump's basically saying, why is CNN not saying this is great? I did great things. There'll be peace. I did this. Republican senators went all in all over Fox channels, Fox News, Fox Business, all the places to talk about how great this was and great for national security, while CNN and MSNBC and New York Times are talking about how it might not be so true. This might not be as great as we think it is, and it may take time to get the real information, get the real acceptance of what's going on. So it's being said internationally, as the UN Secretary General and European leaders all expressing alarm, urging restraint, and renewing the diplomacy that needs to be done to make sure all is actually well with this regime in Iran. The disparity between the media reports and Trump's statements have some really big implications, though. Analysts of the media are cautioned that inflated claims may reduce pressure on Iran to negotiate it and complicate diplomatic channels, something that Trump doesn't want to hear because he doesn't seem to believe it. Critics also argue that precise communication is essential to maintain credibility in both domestic and international arenas. If we don't really know what's happening, we don't know. It's one thing for the administration to say we don't want to talk about it. It's something totally different to want to talk about it all the time and talk about it in terms that are false completely. Now, accurate satellite images, accurate intelligence, accurate knowledge for the world to have is great. It also makes a foundation on diplomacy. We know what words the president is speaking on, what actual playbook he has, what cards we believe he's holding, like watching poker on TV where you see the camera underneath them, so you can get to see what they're actually doing. But the mixed messages are breeding regional instability in the region, regional instability here in the States, as right now AOC is calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Totally insane. Undermining trust in leadership and diminishing the U.S. authority in nuclear negotiations. Should Iran have a nuclear weapon? No. Should Iran have nuclear capabilities to power their country? Maybe. Can we trust Iran? Probably not, which is why we have so many people in place to watch over them. Now, it sounds sort of odd to treat these sovereign nations as petulant children. In fact, that's one way that Donald Trump described Israel and Iran, right? Basically said, two kids having a fight, let them fight for a little bit, let them tire themselves out, and eventually you can use a little strong language and they will get the deal. But what we're having right now It's not just strong language, not just Trump's push to be, the man of peace, the man of strength, the man of just everything. But we really are in a fight for words and information in these days. Just because the person says something doesn't mean it's actually true. How many times you've been in a situation where a boss had said that we're doing great, we have things going forward, only to find out that next week there are massive layoffs and the company's being sold from under everybody. We don't think Donald Trump is selling the nation from underneath everybody, but when the words coming out of one person's mouth seem a bit too much, and the evidence around that seem like the words are too much, yet the insistence that, oh no, what I'm saying is true and you should really be thanking me for what I'm saying, that's where disparages are. People will believe, people will not believe, people will trust, people will not trust. And in the end, when we have to get behind that leader, that strong leader, that man who's in charge of all of us, and whether we like the plan or not, have to go with it and hope that it works, we have issues. We're having issues with the words coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. We've always had. And the actions that are coming forth in his words, which are essentially what he's saying, unfortunately, but also what's coming about and the unintended consequences, let me say that one more time, unintended consequences of many of these actions going forward. NATO may all pay up their 5%. That's great. Spain's having some issues, but that's going on that end. And that's a good thing. Maybe there'll be some sort of resolution with Ukraine, Russia, as Trump's going to be on the sidelines with Volodymyr Zelensky to talk this thing over again. Maybe we'll have a lasting peace in Israel, dealing with Hamas in Gaza and dealing with Iran. Those chances are bleak. We just have to see, apparently. We just have to wait and see what is going to happen on these issues.